All right, welcome back. We've gotten pretty far in our book, and Billy has eaten 5 of the 15 worms, so he has 10 more to go. But he's starting to have issues with thinking he might die. Him and Tom had a fight. He wanted Tom to eat one because Tom's the one that keeps telling him it's okay. His other 2 friends that he made the bet with have been lying to him and laughing about it. Finally, he had a little breakdown at bed, went to his parents and told them what was going on. So his dad said there's nothing wrong with him, he's fine. But his mom pushed and pushed and pushed until he finally called poison control, which pretty much by his conversation we realized means there's nothing wrong. He's not going to die. He's not going to get sick. Worms are not poisonous. So, let's read some more in how to eat fried worms. Now we're going to read chapter 16 through 19. Chapter 16, the 6th worm, number 6. Billy gulped it triumphantly, serene, untroubled. By the door, Alan glowered, his mind racing. He's gonna do it. He'll win. What'll I do? $50. Joe sat on an overturned pail, whistling, gazing carelessly about, sneaking a glance now and then at Billy. What had gone wrong? Why hadn't he cracked? Outside, Tom lurked sheepishly in the bushes behind the stone wall, peering at the barn. Chapter 17. The 7th worm, number 7. Billy ate it offhand, sideways, reading a comic book. Alan and Joe squatted glumly in the barn door, watching him. As Billy was daubing horseradish sauce on the last bite, Tom's head appeared in the corner of the grimy window. He waved tentatively at Billy. Ignoring him, Billy gulped down the last bite, wiped his mouth, and tucking his comic book under his arm, strolled airily out of the barn, remarking over his shoulders, "See you tomorrow, fellows." The 8th worm, number 8. "Where's Joe?" asked Billy, spreading mustard down the length of the fried worm. "He wouldn't come," said Alan sullenly. "It's no fair putting on that much mustard." "Ha ha," said Billy. "Who says? I can put on as much as I like of whatever I like, and you know it. Why wouldn't he come?" "How should I know?" Billy swished a bit of worm around in the ketchup and horseradish sauce. "I know why he didn't." "Yeah, you're so smart. Big deal." Alan couldn't get the $50 out of his head. What was his father going to say when he told him he bet $50 and lost? Geez, he gnawed at his thumbnail. "He wouldn't come because he knows I've won. He knows I could eat 20 worms if I had to." Yeah. Well, you ain't won yet. There's still 7 to go. You act so big. Wait till you begin to feel it in your stomach. You'll think you know everything. Yeah, you'll see. You wait. "Ha ha," said Billy. "You think you can scare me talking like that? Phooey." He strolled past Alan out into the sunlight. "Hi," said Tom, popping up from behind a barrel. "Pfft," said Billy disdainfully, and walked on. Chapter 19. The 9th worm. 9 worms. "That's not a worm," yelled Billy. "How can it be a worm? Geez, it must be 2 feet long." "It's a worm," said Alan stubbornly. "It's just like all the others. I rolled it in cornmeal and fried it." "It's over 2 feet long," screeched Billy. He knew something was up, otherwise Joe wouldn't have come back, slouching in the doorway, pretending to be gazing up at the clouds. But Billy noticed he kept glancing at Alan and him, and Tom was peering in the window again. Something was up. "Look," said Alan. "I'll cut it. You can see for yourself. It's a worm. There, see? Come on, eat up. We ain't got all day." Joe and me have to go to Shushan's with his father. Billy poked at the huge worm with his fork. Something sure was up. He ate the piece Alan had cut, looking the rest of the worm over carefully as he chewed. He had another bite. Phew, he'd forgotten to dip it in horseradish sauce. Come on, said Alan. "Yeah," said Joe. "Eat up, Billy. We want to go." "I'll never be able to eat the whole thing," thought Billy. "It'd choke me. It's too much yuck at once." "Half," he croaked. "I'll eat half. This is some sort of ringer. There's never been a worm this long." "Okay," said Alan, "then the bet's off. Suit yourself. Come on, Joe." He chickened out. "Let's go." all right, said Billy, playing for time. The whole thing. You'll make yourself sick, said Alan. He's too anxious, thought Billy. What's going on? Leave him alone, said Joe. Let him eat it. It's his stomach. He's trying to cover for Alan, thought Billy. He ate another bite. Then he began to scrape the corner carefully off the worm with his knife. What are you doing, said Alan. I think I'll have it plain today. No cornmeal. That's not fair. You can't. Glue, screamed Billy all of a sudden. Glue, you glued 2 night crawlers together. Geez, you bunch of lousy cheats. Tom, look what they tried to pull. Glue. Panting, Tom bent over the plate. You're right. Jeez. Alan kicked the pail clattering against the wall. I told you it wouldn't work, he screamed at Joe. All right, so it didn't work. You could have think of anything better. That's cheating, said Billy. I ought to win right now, you cheater. 15 worms in 15 days, yelled Tom. You ain't won yet, but you cheated, shouted Tom. So what? They argued and yelled, striding here and there about the barn, sprawling against the posts, flinging up their arms, kicking walls, banging down on pails or orange crates, and squeezing their heads between their hands. Doesn't make any difference, Joe yelled at Billy. It didn't work. You didn't fall for it. If you'd eaten the whole thing, then found out it was 2 worms glued together, then you could have claimed to win. But Alan was cheating. Big mouth, shouted Alan from the horse stall where he was kicking the slats in. Who thought it up? Not me. Who cares who thought it up, shouted Tom. It's still cheating. A pig looked in at the door and then wandered away. Joe ran out and stuck his head under the faucet by the kitchen steps. A minute later he came running back, dripping, yelling, That's not true. What's not true, said Billy, turning around from shouting at Alan. Whatever you said. What I say. Doesn't make any difference. You're a liar and a cheat, so anything you say isn't true. You're crazy. Even Hitler or Jack the Ripper sometimes said things that were true. It's impossible to lie all the time. Behind them, Tom lay down on his back and sighed, Ugh. Alan, Joe, and Billy turned to look at him. What's the matter with you? Arg. 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 Silence. A bird flew in and then out through a broken window in the loft. Well, said Billy. Yeah, I see what you mean. He and Alan and Joe sat down on the overturned orange crates. After a while, Joe said, Anyways, I was right. If Billy had eaten it, it would have been cheating. But he didn't, so it's not. The bet's still on. The pig looked in the door again. A pig's loose, said Alan. Look. Where, said Billy. Oh, boy, come on, we gotta catch it. He jumped up. The pig bolted. Whoo-wee, yelled Billy, dashing out. Tom and Joe and Alan scrambled after him. Alrighty. So we got up to 9 worms. But actually, there was 2 glued together. And they really didn't talk about how they're going to finish that one off. But we have questions. Why doesn't Billy have problems eating worms now? He's not scared they're going to hurt him anymore. I mean, if you know you're not going to be poisoned and die, you can probably eat most things. And I gave you the answer to this one, so let's see if you paid attention. How did Alan and Joe try to cheat? They glued 2 worms together. Alrighty, so we'll read some more chapters next time. And we have a few more worms to go. We can see if Billy or Alan will win this bet. Also see if anybody's going to cheat anymore. Alright, we're back with chapters 20 and 21. So, last we saw, they did the whole gluing the worms together, cheating thing, had a big argument, but then they've all calmed back down and are back on with the bet to eat 15 worms in 15 days. Chapter 20, Billy's Mother. Billy slumped at the kitchen table on one elbow, pawing in his bowl of Wheaties with his spoon. His mother was washing the breakfast dishes at the sink. But why isn't it good to eat hot dog for breakfast? I know nobody does, but why don't they? Oh, Billy, said his mother, stop it. Finish your cereal. Well, but... A knock on the screen door. Billy's mother glanced around. Oh, hello, Alan. Joe. Is your sister better, Joe? Yes, thank you. Billy can't come out until he's finished his breakfast. Would you like to wait for him on the front porch? We came to see you, Mrs. Forrester. Oh? Come in. Miss Forrester, said Joe, as Alan shut the door carefully behind him. I don't know if you know about it already, but see, about a week ago, Alan made this bet with Billy about eating worms. If Billy could eat 15 worms one each day for 15 days, then... Billy, you're not still eating them, are you? Billy stuffed a spoonful of Wheaties into his mouth. Not just worms, Mom. I've been eating lots of other stuff, too. Look at me, I'm healthy. Dr. McGrath told you the worms wouldn't hurt me. But Billy, Dr. McGrath didn't think you were going to keep on eating worms. Joe nudged Alan and grinned. Aw, Mom, if 5 worms wouldn't hurt me, a few more won't either. They're little worms. Besides, it's a bet. They're big worms, Mrs. Forrester, said Joe, looking virtuous. We won't lie to you. My mother told me never to tell a lie. Manure, said Billy. Mom, it's a bet. I told you, if I win, Alan's got to pay me $50. $50? Young man, don't you move from that chair. She went off into the front hall. Finks, whispered Billy. But you'll see, it won't work. Alan and Joe gazed nonchalantly at the ceiling. Billy's mother's voice came from the front hall. Dr. McGrath, I'm awfully sorry to bother you. Again. It's such a ridiculous matter, but since I spoke to you, Billy has continued to eat worms. Pause. No, it's nothing like that. He's acting perfectly normal otherwise. It seems he's made a bet with some other boys. Pause. One every day. He has to eat 15 to win his bet. Pause. Oh, thank you, Dr. McGrath. I'm so sorry to bother. She returned to the kitchen. But no more bets after this one, Billy. Alan and Joe, don't you egg him on anymore. He's far too eager to do wild things. Billy yucked silently at Joe and Alan. Alan made a rude gesture at him. Miss Forrester, said Joe, what we really came about is that Alan and me are going up to Lake Lauderdale today with my father to fish, and we won't be back till tomorrow night. So we wondered if you would make sure Billy eats the worm today and tomorrow. It's not that we don't trust Billy, Miss Forrester. No, said Billy's mother, smiling, but it's always better if there's a referee. You know, like Mr. Simmons says at school, to save arguments and hard feelings. We brought the 2 worms. He held up a paper bag. We boiled them already, so if you can just keep them in the refrigerator. Well, said Billy's mother, this is quite a responsibility. Are you sure I'll be neutral enough? I am his mother. Yeah, we thought of that, said Joe, but we figured, well, you're usually pretty fair, and besides, parents almost never cheat kids if it's just something between kids. They're usually pretty fair until they get into it. Billy's mother laughed. And how does he eat them? Just cold boiled? Well, we've been frying them, Miss Forrester. We roll them in cornmeal, then fry them like a fish. But he can do whatever he wants, except that Alan and me have decided it's not fair to make soup out of them, or chop them all up like hash or a chicken salad sandwich. He's got to eat them piece by piece. Who said? Yelled Billy. When was that ever in the rules? We said, shouted Alan. Billy jumped up, kicking his chair over. Well, then I win because it's cheating to make up new rules in the middle. Oh, yeah? Shouted Alan. Then you lose because nobody knows it'd be cheating to hash it up. You think you're going to weasel out of it after I've eaten already 9? Who's weaseling? You're cheating. Yeah. Boys, Billy, Alan. Silence. Please now, Billy, I think. No, let me speak first. I do think Alan and Joe are right. It wouldn't be fair to cut a worm all up. You can just think some other way of fixing it. Thank you, Joe. She took the paper bag and looked inside. Phew, Billy, are you sure? Mom, you've eaten eels. You ate eels last summer in Long Island. They're just smaller. They're the same thing. Well, she put the paper bag in the refrigerator. I guess if Dr. McGrath says it's all right, now why don't you all go outside? I wouldn't go across the street with those finks, said Billy. They can... Yeah, shouted Alan. Well, who'd want to go anywhere with you either? Yeah, shouted Billy. Boys, cried Miss Forrester. Stop it. All right, Alan and Joe, you'd better go. The screen door banged behind them, said Billy scornfully. Joe's face appeared at the screen. Thank you for saying you'll help out, Miss Forrester. Chapter 21. The 10th Worm. What's for dinner? Said Billy's father, coming into the kitchen. Well, said Billy's mother, you and I and Emily are having hamburgers and string beans and mashed potatoes. Billy is having a fried worm. More worms? The bet's still on? Look, she took a small plate covered in saran wrap out of the refrigerator. And you've eaten 9 of these already, Billy? He poked a worm curiously. What do? Use lots of ketchup and mustard? Billy nodded. And horseradish and other things? And we fry them. Billy's father lifted the corner of the saran wrap, smelled the worm. Helen, you ought to be able to do better than fried. Use your cookbook. I'm not the cook. I'm just the referee. Oh, come on. Think of the challenge. He took a cookbook from the shelf under the spice rack. Let's see. Mastering the Art of French Cooking. He leafed through the cookbook. Here, how about poached eels on toast? No, said Billy's mother. It calls for chopping up the eels in little pieces, and that would be against the rules. How about spaghetti with worm balls, then? Or a savory worm pie? Creamed worms on toast? Spanish worm? Worm loaf with mushroom sauce? Wait, said Billy's mother, putting down her cooking spoon. It might just... She took the cookbook, turned to the index. Here, she read. Alsatian smothered worm. Dredge the worm with seasoned flour. Sauté in 3 tablespoons dripping until brown. Cover with sliced onions. Pour over 1 cup thick sour cream. Cover pot closely and bake in slow oven until tender. Bravo, said Billy's father. Put the hamburgers back in the refrigerator. We will all have worm tonight. I won't, said Emily. Ha, said Billy, grinning in the midst of chewing. Boy, Alan and Joe thought they were doing me in when they came to you. Mom, this is better than the steak. It tastes really good. Ugh, mustered Emily, making a face. Let me have a taste, said Billy's father. No, said his mother. Billy has to eat every bit himself. Alan and Joe are very firm about that, and I'm the referee. Boy, said Billy, I don't mind if it tastes like this. Okay. Some questions for chapters 20 and 21. Why did Alan and Joe come to visit Billy's mom? They wanted to let her know about the bet, hoping it would ruin it, and ask her to referee Billy while they were gone. How did Billy's mom cook the worms? His dad suggested using a French cookbook called Mastering the Art of French Cooking, and she made Alsatian smothered worms. He actually said it tasted good too, so who knows? Did Billy's family react the way Alan and Joe had hoped? Nope, they did not. Alrighty, so we will be back to continue finding out what happened with chapters 22 through 27 next. Alright, so Billy's up to eating 10 worms. His mom made number 10 taste really good, he said, after Joe and Alan tried to get her to stop the bet by talking to her about it. These things, he's eating 10 of them. Some of them pretty big. So now let's read chapters 22 through 27. How'd you do it? Said Billy. What's it called? My word, said his father. Gosh, Miss Forrester, gasped Tom. On a silver dish in front of Billy lay an ice cream cake bathed in fruit syrups, peach, cherry, tutti frutti, candied orange, topped with whipped cream, sprinkled with jelly beans and almond slivers. It's called a whiz-bang warm delight, said Billy's mother proudly. I made it up. Is the worm really in there? Said Billy, poking with his spoon, and then scraping away a bit of the whipped cream at one end. He glimpsed a worm's snout protruding from the center of the cake. Snug as a bug in a rug, said his mother. I still wouldn't eat a worm, said Emily, eyeing the whiz-bang warm delight with envious distaste. I would, said Tom. At least maybe I would. Chapter 23. It won't work. Look, said Joe. Even if he remembers the worm while we're at Shea, he can't get one. Where's anybody going to find a worm at Shea Stadium? Don't worry, we'll say, you've won. We'll find a worm after we get home, and we keep right on stuffing him peanuts, hot dogs, hamburgers, Cracker Jacks, ice cream, orange sodas, gum, Mars bars. You know how he loves to eat. You ever seen him refuse something to eat? By the time we start home, he'll be bloated, drowsy, belching. Remember the last time when his father took us? He was asleep by the time we hit Peekskill. Your father will carry him in from the car. His mother and father will put him to bed. Next morning, he'll wake up. Too late. You've won 15 worms in 15 days. He missed a day. Alan nodded his thumbnail. What about Tom? Well, we'll ask him along and then just pick him up. We can tell your father and Billy that Tom's mother called and he was sick. His grandmother died. Anything. Just so we don't have to bring him with us. Alan sighed. Geez, it'll probably cost me $8 just to buy all that food. Cracker Jack, hamburgers. Yeah, but it'll cost you $50 if he wins. Yeah, well, oh geez, how do I ever get into this? If my father finds out... Alan slumped on the porch steps, gazing down at his sneakers, gnawing at his thumbnail. Come on, said Joe, slapping him on the shoulder. Cheer up. You haven't lost yet. Go ask your father. 24. The 12th worm. Whew, 12 worms. Ugh. You think Alan really meant it when he said he'd given up? Asked Billy, turning down the flame under the frying pan. He was cooking a toasted cheese and worm sandwich. I don't know, said Tom, looking in the refrigerator. I suppose so. He asked us to the Mets game. Say, is that chocolate pudding? Yeah, but don't take any. It's for supper. I could just scrape some off the top, and then you could tell your mother it fell out upside down on the floor by mistake, and while you were getting the cheese out. So you scraped the dirty part off into the garbage. Well, said Billy doubtfully. Thomas Grout, said Billy's mother, coming in from the hall. I'm surprised at you. Ah, Miss Forrester, I wouldn't really have done it. I was just, talking. Everybody talks. My father, Billy, my sister, Annie, Charlotte, Polly. He was backing towards the door. Betty, Angus, Columbus. I didn't know you had a sister named Columbus, Tom, said Billy's mother. Would you like some chocolate ice cream instead? Oh, sure, Mrs. Forrester, said Tom, relieved. He sat down at the table. It's my cousin who's named Columbus. He grinned. Columbus, Ohio. He's a capital fellow, Miss Forrester. And then he grabbed the edge of the table to keep from rolling off his chair laughing at his own joke. Billy looked disgusted. His mother opened the refrigerator, shaking her head. Chapter 25. Pearl Harbor. The car slid quietly to a stop under the streetlights outside Billy's house. Shh, whispered Alan to his father. Billy's asleep. His father glanced back at Billy, snoring peacefully in the back seat, his plump cheeks sticky with orange soda. Alan, run up to the house and tell them I'm bringing Billy in. Billy's father met them at the front door, and taking Billy, whispering, he said thanks. Alan and his father went down to walk. Behind them, the porch light clicked off. In the back seat of the car, Joe and Alan wrestled gleefully. We did it! We won! He'll never wake up now. Alan struggled out of Joe's grip and asked his father what time it was. Late, almost midnight, I think. Joe pulled Alan's head down and tried to sit on it. He couldn't do it now even if he woke up. How could he find and eat a worm in the dark? We've won! We've won! Chapter 21. Guadalcanal. Say that one 3 times fast. Bump slumped on the bathroom stool, his mother holding up his chin. While she washed his face, Billy was waking. Hold still, dear. Did you have a good time? You're certainly home late. Is this part of winning the bet? Billy's eyes blinked sleepily. He had a gnawing feeling he had forgotten something. He hiccuped, gazing dumbly down at the fuzzy blue bath mat. Yawned. He'd remember in the morning. It couldn't be that bet. He hadn't won yet. There were still 3 to go. 15 worms in 15 days. Today was... He jumped up. Mom, I haven't eaten my worm today. And suddenly all came to him. The whole trip. All the candy bars, hot dogs, hamburgers, popcorn. What time is it, Mom? Quick. About 11:45. It was a trick. He snatched his pants off the floor. They were trying to make me forget. He rumbled and slid downstairs through the dining room, his shirt tail flying, yanked over the drawer in the kitchen table, snatched out the flashlight. The drawer spilling out with a clatter and crashed onto the floor and slammed out the back door. The Finks! He scuttled across the back field towards Tom's house, searching the ground with a flashlight as he went. There, darn, a stick. Geez, suppose I can't find one. He stopped. There won't be time to cook it. He ran on. And no ketchup. He stopped. I'll bet Tom wasn't sick at all. He ran on. The night was moonless and close. He paused to heave over a rotten log in a high dewy grass. Mealy bugs and scooters clambered over the stone wall into Tom's backyard, and all of a sudden wrestling with a pup tent. Muffled grunts and thrashing. Tom, he yelled. Tom, it's me, Billy. They're trying to trick us. Tom and his younger brother Pete crawled out from under the pup tent. It was a trick, panted Billy. Alan and Joe were trying to make me forget. 15 worms in 15 days. If I don't eat one in the next 10 minutes, Alan will say he won. It's almost midnight. And they left me home so I wouldn't remind you. Billy nodded. Have you got a worm? We'll have to find one. Tom dug back in the tent and came out with 2 flashlights. They zigzagged back and forth across the lawn, bent over searching. I got one, cried Pete. Shh. I'll have to eat it raw, said Billy. He threw back his head. Wait, whispered Tom, grabbing his arm. You should do it where Alan and Joe can see you. Pete, run and get your siren out of the garage. Okay. All trying to trick him so he doesn't win. Not very nice. Okay. Question 1. How did Alan and Joe distract Billy? Taking him to Shea Stadium and filling him up with all sorts of yummy junk food until almost midnight. Who reminded Billy of the bed? His mom. Remember? This is what happens when you win the bet. Kind of stuck him out there and he woke up and like, oh yeah, I forgot. Who found the 13th worm? Pete, Tom's little brother. Okay, so we'll see if he gets this 13 worm eaten in time, and if he gets those last 2 somehow. We're getting close to the end of this one. So we will find out all of our fun answers to all these questions in the next couple videos.